I'm Robin.
And I'm Julie.
We're two mamas who love inspiring healthy living.
After facing family health challenges and seeing how natural solutions transformed our lives, we are determined to help other mamas thrive, not just survive.
What if feeling awesome every day is possible for you and your family?
Come along with us on our natural journey.
All right. Hi, I'm Robin.
And I'm Julie.
Toilet's here. Welcome to our podcast.
The funny thing is, it never gets old. Like, I laugh every time you're like, where do I look?
It's so confusing. Anyway, welcome to our podcast.
Helping mamas thrive.
Yay! This time, we didn't even bother to come up with the title before.
That's sad, but we're like, we already know.
We'll just figure it out. We always mess up. So why should waste the 2 minutes before we start?
Exactly, because we'll forget it anyway. I hope that your brain is brilliant right now and you can come up with something really good.
I put some brain power on. Wait.
Where does my oil look?
Have you listened? What, Tracy?
We need to have smell-o-vision. Can you like diffuse that over this way?
I know. That would be so great. Julie wanted to invent it.
I know. I'm working on it. I need to figure out how the molecules can be transformed through that.
Yeah, let's do something. Sorry, sir. Here's some intention for you.
Here you go. Quantum.
Oh yeah. I love
it. Okay, so back to this is our welcome to Helping Mamas Thrive, our podcast.
Yes.
The topic today is from nurse practitioner to natural health practitioner. How does that happen? Yay! We're going to talk to Tracy Berkdahl. She's an amazing person who lives up north, and she's shivering right now. Well, we would be shivering if we were where she is. She's making, so if you're listening and not watching, she just said a little bit. So welcome, Tracy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I met Tracy through our quantum nutrition testing. Did we meet at level 1 or level 2?
We met at, I think it was level 2.
Level 2?
I believe
I think
so.
It was level 2.
I know exactly where you were sitting. You were sitting on the right side in front of me, almost the second row, and you were on the outside, and you had all of your oils.
That was level 1. So that was, yep.
You're at level.
No, okay. That's good, because level 2, I was on the left side, because I know that. I remember things like that. Yeah. It was great to meet you. So now I know her, and she's fantastic. And so what I wanted to share, this whole podcast is about empowering yourself to take charge of your health, empowering others, helping our families to be healthier. And so Tracy's story is really good because she's coming from the traditional medical system. She was a nurse practitioner, and I want her to share her health journey and story of how she healed herself and why she went from that traditional role into more of a natural role. So Tracy, we're giving you the microphone.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. So my story actually stemmed from when I was a kid. I had really bad, it was like eczema, like dermatitis type stuff, but I'm in my mid 40s. So back then, at the age of 4 or 5, they didn't really have topical creams for kids. So it was basically kind of like, they didn't really know what to do with me. I was too young for allergy medicine, too young for topical steroid creams and things like that. So I remember, the allergist the pediatrician that I was seeing was also an allergist specialist. And he would have my mom soak my feet in tea leaves, which really didn't help. My skin, like on the bottom of my feet, would like split open really wide. And I just remember crying hysterically because my skin was so itchy. And so when I was 6 years old, they did allergy testing, found out that I was allergic to pretty much everything and anything. So I started allergy shots, and I guess Oh yeah. So I started on allergy shots when I was 6 years old, and they have a whole bunch of preservatives and heavy metals in those allergy shots. before that, I was sick all the time as a baby, ear infections, which we now, like I now know, which I didn't know before, is that a lot of times newborns will actually get chronic ear infections because they have a subluxation, in their cervical spine, which can actually press on the eustachian tube. And so they get chronic ear infections because that eustachian tube can't drain properly. And if moms would just take their newborn infants, and it's safe if you have a good chiropractor, it's safe to have the newborns adjusted. But what happens is that cervical spine can actually press on the eustachian tubes and then prevent drainage. So then you have a whole bunch of ear infections because there's no place for that stuff to drain out.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always getting ear infections and throat infections. So when I was an infant, I was always on antibiotics. Well, you know what that does to the gut, right? And if the gut's all messed up, then you can develop things like, skin problems and whatnot. Well, fast forward my skin when I was a teenager, because I was on allergy shots and allergy medicine and I had asthma. So, but my skin cleared up because I was taking all these stuff basically to suppress everything, which I didn't realize that at the time. And then when I was in my 20s, it started coming back. Prior to my 20s, I started having hormonal imbalances, was having really bad PMS, PMDD, where I would get suicidal before my cycle, a week before my cycle. They started me on birth control pills, trying to regulate my mood and regulate my cycles. And so, and it did not help. And I was put on something called orthotricycline, which has multiple different hormones. Like it's got like three different, that's why it's orthotricycline, because it's got three different types of levels of hormones in that birth control pill. So my mood was going up and down throughout the whole entire month. And I mimicked bipolar because I was having so many mood swings. And I actually did attempt to commit suicide and I got hospitalized for it. And so then they diagnosed me with bipolar and I was put on Depakote and Wellbutrin. And I gained, and I wasn't really overweight at all. And I gained 90 pounds in 1 year. And so as a 19-year-old, when you gain 90 pounds in 1 year, your self-esteem tanks too.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. And it didn't help me with my mood swings at all. And in fact, I felt like a freaking zombie because I was so tired from the medication. So I wound up like basically, which if you're on medication, I really don't recommend anybody doing this, but I'm in my early 20s now. And I basically said, screw this. And I took myself off of everything. And you're not supposed to do that because you can have bad withdrawals from some of these medications and bad rebound side effects and stuff like that from just suddenly stopping psych meds. So I don't recommend that to anybody. Just saying. I did that. I didn't wind up with any side effects. But I started noticing that, I feel better, except for right around my period. So then they started playing around with different types of birth control pills, seeing which one would help, which one didn't. The only one that kind of did was the NuvaRing. So I was on birth control pills for like a long time, but I was still suicidal right before my cycle. So then they did more testing and I got stuck on different medications, gained even more weight. And it just was a hot mess how did I get into, so this is how I actually got into holistic health. So I had all these all these problems coming on. My skin started coming back, that started taking off with a vengeance. And I adopted a dog. And my dog was my first gateway into holistic health.
You're going to love this story. Hold Tracy, because she was telling me this. And there's lots of stories because Tracy also has a horse. But when you were going through this and you gained the 90 pounds, what did the doctor say to you?
Exercise more and watch my diet. But I was sleeping most of the time. I was so tired. Like I could literally sleep 16 hours a day, no problem, no question whatsoever. Like I was literally exhausted from this. I felt like I was a zombie. Like I couldn't function. I was so tired. I would miss a lot of stuff. I remember being on vacation and I slept the whole entire vacation. My friend came with me and she was so mad at me because she didn't understand. You know, I just was tired. Like I could not get enough sleep being on this medication. I could not get enough sleep. And I have no idea how the heck I even functioned to eat because I was working. I have no idea even how I was doing that and going to school. No clue.
Did they explain the side effects to you? Like when you
Oh, are you kidding me? No, they don't do that. You know, and quite honestly, not much. They'll just, oh, you might get a little bit of a headache or you might get this, but they don't explain all the serious side effects. And I don't even think the doctors half know all the serious side effects.
Yeah.
You know, I truly don't think so.
Okay, so back to your dog. Sorry.
No, and no, thanks for asking. So my dog was my happy-go-lucky puppy, and all of a sudden he started having behavioral changes, and my aunt's like, oh, you need to get his thyroid checked out. So we did his blood work, and my vet did it, and it was low normal. And I kind of went back to my aunt who is a dog trainer, and she's just like, no, send it out to Dr. Jean Dodds. She does an extensive thyroid panel and she knows the relationship between thyroid issues and behavioral problems. So I did. And she comes back to me and she goes, well, you're not going to find your answer in Western medicine. You need to find a veterinarian who specializes in Chinese medicine. And I'm like, what? You know, and I'm like, well, she's a vet. She knows what she's talking about. And I guess she's supposed to be this big guru. So so I'm like, whatever. So I go to my vet and I'm like, well, this is what she said. And she said it's low normal, but she goes, it's not the thyroid. She goes, something else is affecting the thyroid and I need to go see a Chinese medicine. And then my veterinarian, this is another form of muscle testing. She goes, I just got certified nutrition response testing. And I'm like, what the heck is this? So I'm like, all right, well, whatever. I'm like, she's my vet. I really like her a lot. I'm like, I'm just going to go with it. So there I am, like watching her and the vet tech. You know, the vet tech has a hand on my dog. She's got a hand on my dog. The vet tech's holding out the arm. And all of a sudden the vet's like touching the dog. The vet tech's touching the dog. And then the vet's pushing on the person's arm. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, what did I just get? I'm like, what are you guys doing? Holding hands and singing Kumbaya? I'm like, come on now. Like, what is this? So I'm like, whatever. So I just kind of like, just, I didn't know what to do with my dog, so I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll just go with it. Well, then all of a sudden my cat started having, not to sound gross, but I didn't know which one was having bloody diarrhea and was having accidents in the bathtub because they couldn't make it to the litter box. So I bring both of my cats in there and she's like, oh, it's this one and it's his gallbladder and he needs this supplement. I'm like, really? So I give it to him and within a couple days, like no more bloody diarrhea. I was like, no kidding. So then I started taking all of my pets to her and right. I just adopted another dog and this dog had, she was a puppy and all of a sudden she started limping and we did x-rays, she was a ratty, thought it was elbow dysplasia. No hip dysplasia. She was getting chiropractic acupuncture. So I'm like, all right, doctor, her name is Dr. Cutright. I was like, okay, Dr. Cutright. I was like, can you turn around and muscle test, NRT Sadie? So she goes, oh, she's coming up for mercury in the joints. I'm like, mercury in the joints? And she goes, what are you feeding her? And I'm all proud of myself because I'm just starting to learn about species appropriate diet. I'm like, I'm feeding them raw food. She goes, okay, yeah, that's great. That's excellent. But what are you feeding? Like, well, I'm buying fish. Okay. I'm like, because, the fatty acids. Right. But where's the fish coming from? I was like, what do you mean? I'm buying it from Jewel. She's like, yeah, but where's the fish coming from? I'm like, I don't know. Like, what do you mean? She goes, is it farm raised or is it wild caught? I'm like, She goes, okay. And then she goes, what else are you feeding? I'm like, I'm feeding human grade fish oil. She goes, okay. Does it say mercury and lead free? I'm like, does it have to? And she goes, yes. So I'm running home and I look at the bottle. I'm like, well, mine doesn't say mercury and lead free. So I call up my mom because I knew my mom was on fish oil. And my mom goes, well, my bottle says mercury and lead free. I was like, yours does? I'm like, well, mine doesn't. And I was getting this from Jewel. It was like the Jewel brand. I'm like, well, they recommend, like all this stuff for like fatty acids, for healthy kids and healthy brains and healthy pregnancies and stuff like that. I'm like, so if this has mercury, and I'm like, that's very toxic. I was like, and they are feeding this to people. So then I started researching, and mercury has an affinity to, fats and the brain and joint, mimic joint pain and arthritis. I was like, no way. So after 6 months of detoxing, my dog, her limping started going away. I was like, so I started referring everybody. And in the meantime, my own skin took off. And
wait, hold on 1 second. Let me stop you there.
Yep.
So I have a couple questions. One is, was that a holistic vet that muscle tested?
She just got certified in nutrition response testing. So she was a traditional vet that got certified in muscle testing.
Okay.
So it's kind of similar to quantum nutrition testing, but it doesn't use the energy to do long distance. So it's just in-person muscle testing, but very, very similar.
Okay, cool. The second is, so if anybody's listening to this, we do muscle testing for pets. So what Tracy's talking about, we can do virtually. Actually, we only do it virtually for safety reasons. Those doggies and other animals just have such anxiety coming into the office. So we rather do it virtually. My second question, now I do not remember. Do you have any before she continues?
Yep.
All right. So now your dog is doing better.
Yep.
And your cats.
Yep, everybody's doing better. I started referring everybody, and she was getting great results, like with kidney failure with pets and things like that. And it was just amazing. And the results, like everybody that I was referring to was just like getting mind blown on how this was helping their pets out. And it was truly amazing. So I finally asked, because now in the meantime, my skin was getting really, really bad. Topical steroid creams were not working. I had gone to 3 dermatologists. They did skin scraping, which means that they take sample skin and they look under a microscope to see kind of like, is there a fungal infection? Like, what's going on? And they just showed scattered eosinophils. Now, eosinophils is a type of white blood cell, and it's usually seen elevated in one of two things: allergic reactions, or can you guess the other one? Parasitic infestations. So my eosinophil levels on that, skin scraping was elevated. Now, from being exposed to more of a holistic standpoint from my pets, now mind you, I was taking my pets to see her for 5 years before I even considered doing this for myself. Okay. So
a lot of people are like that. They'll pay for their pet.
Yeah.
But they won't pay for them.
Yeah.
Very, very true. Yes. Most people will do anything for their pets or their kids, but they don't do it for themselves. Or I don't know why. It's the whole concept of, got to take care of everybody else in the family. I come last, especially us women. So that's very common. But yes. So finally, my skin, usually we have to almost be falling flat on our face to take care of ourselves. So, and that's kind of what was happening. And and I mentioned to the dermatologist, could this be a parasitic infestation? No, that only happens in third world countries. He replies to me. I'm like, are you? I've been around pets my whole entire life. I've been horseback riding, at the barn, like, let's just face it, you're picking horses' hooves, which is, they step in poop and stuff like that. I've been doing this since I was like, like 8, 9. I'm like, are you sure I don't have parasites? No, you're probably allergic to something. That's what eosinophils usually show up. So they did a skin patch test and they put over 200 chemicals on my back. And guess what? Nothing showed up. So again, I asked, could this be No, it's not parasites. We're just going to suggest that we put you on an autoimmune, like all those stupid commercials here, so that's what he wanted to put me on. I forgot which one. This was over 10 years ago. I can't remember the medication, but it's like very similar to the stuff like that you see on all those commercials, like for the psoriasis and eczema, and then you hear all this, they run by really quick on like all the side effects, like, may cause cancer, you've been exposed to TB, blah, blah, blah. If you die, I'm like, if you die, like, seriously, I'll be dead. I won't care anymore. Like, but you hear like all these goofy side effects and they run by them real quick. But all you see is the happy little people on, with clearer skin. And so anyway, I was like, are you out of your cotton picking loving mind? I work in the ICU. I was getting bronchitis at least 3 times a year. by the time I was in my mid-20s, I've already had pneumonia twice. I was getting sinus infection 4 times a year. I'm like, I am not going on an autoimmune suppressant. I will be in bed next to the person next to me. I was like, give me a cotton pick and break. So that's when I asked the vet, I'm like, does anybody do this for people? So, so she sends me to a chiropractor who does this. And I didn't tell her about the scattered eosinophils, and she does the full scan. I come back for my report of findings, and she goes, your liver is the reason why your skin is so irritated and you have parasites in your liver. I'm like, I knew it. I was so excited to see that I had parasites because there was a reason for my condition, right? So I was so excited. And little did I know, now, mind you, usually what I find being holistic is that whatever is the most serious and whatever symptom band-aids do not take care of, like ibuprofen or whatever, or in my case, steroid cream stop working, is usually, in most cases, not in all, is usually the one that is the longest to get rid of because it's the most severe. Like your body is just that deprived, or, of nutrients or whatever. So by the 6th month of doing muscle testing and being a patient, I was getting really fed up because I'm like, my skin's not improving. I'm blah, 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 and something inside of me just said, shut up and just give it a moment. And now, mind you, like by that 6th month, I had better gut. My gut was better.
Yeah.
I had shattered my knee. So I was bone on bone in my knee by the time, and we're talking now, I'm like maybe 33, 34. By the time I was 30, I needed a knee replacement, but I was too young because I shattered my knee and I was getting knee injections every 3 to 4 months. So, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, wow, I haven't had to have a knee injection. I'm like, huh, okay, yeah, but what about my skin? My skin's not clearing up, and patients will do this too, right? So I have like all
pause for 1 second, Tracy. I just want to explain to people. So, the clients that we see, we always tell them that, healing is like an onion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we peel back the layers, and you don't always get to pick what your body is ready to work on first. Like a lot of people will come in maybe wanting to work on parasites, but their body wants to get rid of all the metals and the mold. It's not ready to get rid of those parasites yet. And so you bring up a really good point that you were frustrated because the skin healing was taking so long, but in the meantime, you said your gut was healing, your joints were healing, there's other things, and your body is deciding that. That's what's so cool about our bodies, right? They pick what they're ready for. And what I especially love about this technique is there's no guessing. So like the supplements that you were buying, it's efficient and it's not a waste of money because your body was using them the way it needed to versus just guessing, like how we did before we were muscle testing. We would just, this is a good supplement, I'm going to take it. I had no idea if your body needed it or was absorbing it. Because even if a blood test shows that you are low in a certain vitamin, it doesn't tell you if your body is absorbing that supplement. Right. Because there's a lot of chemical reactions that happen in your body. And sometimes you have to fix something else in order to absorb this other vitamin.
Correct.
So just wanted to pause that and like expand that. So go ahead.
No, that's excellent. No, yeah. And so it took about 8 months for me to start seeing results and about 1.5 years for my skin to be completely cleared. And then this is when it dawned on me, well, if my skin is related to liver cells, how long do liver cells live for? So I researched that and they live for 300 to 500 days. Okay. And then this is like when I had the big epiphany. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're not just giving a Band-Aid. We are literally getting rid of the gunk and giving nutritional stuff. So that way, when those damaged liver cells die, they're replacing themselves and they're regenerating a healthy. So you guys, So whatever organ is not functioning properly, you got to wait for the damaged cells to die. You got to give it time. It's not like I can, like me or, Robin or Julie can go like poof and like wave a magic wand and say, okay, now die. There's like blood cells. They live for 90 days. So if you had anemia or whatever, or some sort of disease of the, blood cells, it might take 90 days for you to start seeing improvement. Now, and some people are going to be a little bit discouraged by this, and don't be, but it might take a couple cycles for the cells to die and replicate for you to become completely healthy, right? Because so each time they die and replicate, if we continue to detox and give nutrients, then each time they die and replicate, they should be replicating a healthier version. Well, that might take 1 or 2 life cycles for that to completely happen, right? It depends on how damaged the cells were in the very first place.
I love that explanation.
Yeah.
So good.
So now, like for heart, okay, like cardiac ICU nurse is like my thing. So like, let's take somebody with congestive heart failure or somebody with like a heart condition and their heart is weaker or cardiomyopathy or whatever. Guess how long it might take before they see results? 4 to 4.5 years. That's how long heart cells live for, 4.5 years. But now what's the alternative though? Okay. So from a cardiac standpoint, let's say you have high blood pressure, or let's say you have kidney issues, right? And that puts strain on the heart. And let's say you develop congestive heart failure. So what does that look like? And so I put you on, so if I'm talking Western medicine, I put you on blood pressure medication, and then we put you on a diuretic. Okay. So that helps because when you have congestive heart failure, you are not able to circulate the fluid in your body efficiently. So fluid starts building up, and fluid can back up. Think of like the sump pump to the house. Like it's not efficient. So where does the fluid go? It backs up into the house. Well, in this case, it's going to back up into your lungs, or it can back up into your peripheral. And this is where people get edema in their legs, swelling of the legs, or they can become short of breath because they're building up fluid on the lungs. Well, you're going to be in big trouble if that happens. So then Western medicine gives you a medication called a diuretic to make you pee out the fluid. But then what happens? Then we stress out the kidneys, and then you dehydrate the kidneys, and this can lead to renal failure. So what is the progression? A lot of congestive heart failure patients wind up with renal failure in the long run. And then if the renal failure gets bad enough, then guess what? Then you wind up on hemodialysis. So which route would you prefer? Would you prefer to give me or Julie or Robin 4 years of your time, or possibly wind up on hemodialysis? Your choice. Just saying.
I love that explanation. I have a relative who was on I can't even say it, blood pressure medication, changed the blood pressure medication, added the diuretic, the water pill to that, then did a test. Then they're like, oh, well, let's do a nuclear test to make sure it's not stressing out the kidneys. I'm like, why are you taking a test? Your kidney, what's happening? Like, this is going the wrong direction. Right. Anyway, I know.
I love it.
Yeah. So it's just, and people just don't realize that. And we live in a microwave society, we want fast, quick fixes. Somebody this is going to sound harsh, but we want people to do the work for us. It's so much easier to take a pill than to possibly change your diet, to change habits. And let's face it, habits are hard to break in some cases. And there's a lot of emotional stuff behind habits too. And so for me, it took me a while to come off of all of my meds. Psych meds are one of the hardest things because it's not just about, changing your food, but then you also have to change the way you think. You have to change that inner dialogue because, I felt like crap every single month, a week before my period. And the thoughts that were running through my head were not pretty. And you have to change the way that you think and how you talk to yourself. And my self-esteem, even as a holistic practitioner, I'm still on the heavier side, but I was a lot heavier being on those medications. And so in some ways, even as a holistic practitioner, I felt like a fraud. I
Wait,
really
so
did.
pause for a second, Tracy. So how did you, we didn't talk about this. You're saying
Oh,
that you are a natural health practitioner. Let's back up. And so you're an ICU nurse. When did you decide to change your profession?
so I was still working as a ICU nurse, and in 2015, so I started seeing results, and it dawned on me that medication, now there's a, like, if you're ready to have a heart attack, I can't undo dead. So yes, I want you to go to the hospital. Yes, I want you to get emergency medications, and things like that. But it dawned on me that, Western medicine is just a band-aid. It doesn't fix the underlying cause. And I really wanted to help people. And I started realizing through my own health journey, through seeing my pets, that Western medicine was not doing that. And so that's when I decided to go get certified in, a technique called nutrition response testing. And that was down in Florida. So I got certified in that. And I started practicing, I rented space from a chiropractor's office, started seeing patients part-time. I was still working at the hospital. And then I wanted to take my career further. I wanted to become a nurse practitioner so I could help wean people off of medication. Because as a nurse practitioner, then I have prescriptive authority. So, but then I can also monitor, like, if somebody really needed a medication, and I can even muscle test, okay, what's going to be the least harmful for that person for a
Wow.
short time.
Very
So
cool.
I wanted to, like, okay, so that way, if I needed to, prescribe a medication, let's say they're in dire straits and maybe I needed to prevent them from going to the hospital, and let's say, like, let's give them, yeah, because like I said, I can't undo dead, right? And if your blood pressure is really high, or if you're in an emergency situation, or if it's getting to be that point, then, because sometimes healing takes time. Let's just face it. True healing can take a little bit of time. It's not an overnight fix, but sometimes we need a band-aid. And I like to tell my patients this. So think of like a leaky faucet in your house, or like a leaky, pipe. Let's say a pipe burst. You're going to use that waterproof tape because maybe the plumber is on other emergencies and it's going to take him a while to get there to fix it. So yes, you want to, before the house completely floods, you're going to use that waterproof tape to kind of stop the leak. And then eventually that plumber can come and fix it. But that might take some time, right? Well, that's kind of like the medication. So is medication my first go-to? No, but most people, unfortunately, wait until they're about ready to fall flat on their face before they come and see practitioners like us. If patients, because I hear a lot of people when I go to events, oh, I'm fine, I don't need your services, I have no symptoms. Okay, yeah, then that's exactly when you still want to come to see us, because why would you wait for symptoms to come up? Why would you wait for like, you don't wait for your engine to start smoking before you get your oil change in your car, right? Why do we do that for our bodies? Like, that's great that you don't have symptoms. Let's keep it that way. Why not use this kind of stuff as a preventative? And most people
Right.
don't look at it this way. They wait until they fall flat on their face or until their engine is smoking, and then they finally seek out help. And it's like, I want to change that mindset of people.
That's awesome.
That is really good. I like that. I've always heard, like, the car with the gas tank, you got to fill up the tank, and can't put the junk in it. But I love that analogy because that is so true. That's great.
Yeah. So
Good
yeah,
stuff.
so that's kind of got me, into this. And if your engine is starting to smoke, then yeah, might I use the medication? Yeah, I might use that until we can kind of get things repaired, which might, but at least then I can actually muscle test to see which is the least harmful medication for you.
I love that you can do that. So, a lot of natural health practitioners, we can't treat, we can't diagnose, we can't cure, but you have a medical license that allows you to prescribe the medication, and you can see. So just like with the supplements, you can see what dosing the body wants. So like your brain could say you need 300 milligrams, but the body says it only wants 30 or whatever. And
Yes.
that's really an interesting thing that you can do that most natural health practitioners can't do.
Yeah.
cool.
So I think it really is a good benefit. Thank goodness I don't have to do that too often. So,
Right.
which I'm very grateful for that in most
Right.
cases. And most of my patients already have PCPs or primary care physicians, and they just come to me for a more holistic, for a more holistic approach. So, but yeah,
Yeah, but that's really
it,
nice because it's a scary, I have some clients on medications and it's kind of almost like a black and white situation because I can't help them
Mhm.
and their primary wants them to stay on it or they deny maybe the side effects.
Mhm.
So it ends up being their decision. So in your case, it's kind of like that's a really interesting
That's good.
take on it, right? It's a safer way for the body.
Mhm. It's good.
yeah, yeah, and that is, I feel bad for patients, who don't have primary physicians that don't listen to them,
Mhm.
and people actually think that they need to stay on these medications forever, and that's not necessarily the case.
No.
That is not necessarily the case. Your body was designed to heal. Your
Yeah.
body is designed.
I think there's like a thought that once you get a diagnosis, it almost becomes a victim mentality.
Mhm.
I have this diagnosis and there's nothing I can do. And so that's what our mission is to help empower people. Yes, there are things you can do. Like I used to have PCOS. Nobody told me all through growing up that I could have a regular period by changing my diet. I figured that out in my late 40s. My late 40s.
Oh yeah.
After I had fertility issues, after I was on the pill for millions of years, headaches 3 weeks a month,
Mhm.
really bad migraines all the time. Nobody told me that. I figured that out my darn self.
So crazy.
Yeah,
Super
and you
crazy.
have to be your own advocate. So kudos to you. You have to be your own advocate. You have got to, and then if you don't feel comfortable, you have to have courage to say, even talk to your doctor about it too, because some doctors will not believe in what you say. And you're just like, okay. And you listen to them, even though deep down, that you don't need this or you shouldn't have to stay on that. But people are, they don't want to upset the doctor, or well, the doctor knows best. And in a lot of cases, doctors do, and I don't think doctors are there to purposely harm you. That's not their intention, but they only know one certain way, and this is what they were trained in. Quite honestly, I believe that we were all brainwashed. I truly do. And if you told me, like, I have no clue. What I really learned about nutrition was through holistic health. I guess how many I have my master's in nursing. I've been through 6 years of nursing school, in total. And so just shy of 2 from under a doctor. And guess how many classes I had for nutrition?
A semester.
Not even a full semester. Not even a full semester. Now, a little bit more so, like they did talk about like certain things a little bit more in depth because of diabetes and because we were the ones that were calorie counting for patients and things like that. So, but not like a full in-depth thing, and doctors I know only got like one semester out of 8 years, one semester. And most of us think that vitamins and nutritional supplements are a bunch of nonsense, which it's so funny. Now that I do holistic health, I actually think that's funny because your body actually needs vitamins and minerals and amino acids to function. And yet we're calling nutritional supplements, good quality ones, like not worth it. And that
Right.
it doesn't do any good for the body. I'm like, okay, that doesn't even make any sense because you need the basic building blocks of your body are amino acids, vitamins, minerals, and other things too. But those are the basic nutrients that every single cell needs to function properly.
Right. I know. People are like, give me the look. They're like, no, I can't do a supplement. I'm like, it's like food. It's food.
Mhm.
No, that no, thank you. I'm
But
like, but it's gonna help you. it's not synthetic.
Right. Or I don't like taking what was the other one that I hear a lot is well, how many supplements do I need? And I don't like taking that many. And I look at them, I'm like, and look at how sick you are. I'm like, look at all, I'm like, if somebody told me, and I don't know your, but I have to say, using quantum nutrition testing, I have to say within a 3-month period, on average, and granted, each person is slightly different, but on average, most of my patients have a 25 to 50% improvement of their overall health just in 3 months. Yeah. And I think that's on average for anybody that is certified in quantum nutrition testing.
That's great.
Okay, so if you can feel better, and like just really think about it, like whatever you're suffering from, if you see somebody certified in quantum nutrition testing and somebody told you the chances of you getting anywhere from 25 to 50% improvement in just 3 months, like if somebody told me to go roll in dog poop, I would do it. Like if you could guarantee me, depending on like what condition I had, if you could guarantee me like 25 to 50% improvement, you want me to do what? I will do whatever you want me to do. Like just get me to do it, And some of these people are just like, well, it doesn't taste good. No kidding. I'm like, yeah,
some people do say that.
Yeah, it doesn't taste good. I'm like, I don't know, plug your nose. Like I do that. Oh, I'm like a little kid. Like I plug my nose. I got like my finger in like organic peanut butter, like, one finger in organic peanut butter. And like, especially carboxy, that stuff, like, oh my God.
That, right?
Yep.
I would rather take Para 3 from Cellcore any day of the week than carboxy. Like for some reason, I just so there I am like plugging my nose, like downing carboxy, and while my nose is still plugged, I'm like sticking my finger in the organic peanut butter and sucking on them.
So Para 3, just for anybody that doesn't know, Para 3 is super bitter.
Yes.
And it's very, very strong, which I do use Para 3. And I try not to leave home without it, but I did once. For Thanksgiving, remember? I forgot. Right. But I usually travel with it. Carboxy is so Para 3 is for parasites. Carboxy is like a black powder to help like bind to things in your body. It could be chemicals, it could be mold, it could be whatever you test for, but it's chalky. And so it's kind of gross, right? Well, you took it, Julia.
Yeah, I can attest that.
Yeah. And there's a great story about a child with autism. When he was 3, he did muscle testing. There's a book. Don't remember.
Jim.
Yeah. It's by Jimmy Skringy was the practitioner, but the book is about like my son Vinny or something like that. And
Vinny.
What?
It is my son Vinny. Yes.
Yeah. And so he took carboxy and one of those medicine injectors. He'll take it himself because he knows he feels better.
Wow.
Those things that like the drugstore has? He took it in that. He's like, can I have my black stuff or something like that?
That's amazing. That is super cool.
But I get you. That's why sometimes when people test for carboxy, I find something else. Right. That
like, please don't let it be carboxy.
I usually I can find I don't want to say it because I don't want to get in trouble, but I can find another solution.
It was the first time. The reason I took that was because I went to Quantum Nutrition 2. No, one. And we have been flooded out of our home. And right before that, a week before that, I had cleaned my house. I think you weren't at the second one that Robin went to, but basically cleaned my house and didn't mask cover or do anything. And the mold that I found was extreme. And so I cleaned all that and then I got super sick. But I thought it was just a cold. I have a super bad cold.
It was scratchy.
Oh, yeah.
My son, tell him.
Yeah, like overnight, I lost my voice. I didn't have a voice for like 5 days.
Didn't Matthew say, Mom, when are you going to get your voice?
Yeah. When are you going to get your voice back, Mom? And I'm like, don't know. I'm a homeschooler. So he was like loving it that I did not have a voice.
She was like, she was like, I have nothing wrong with me.
Yeah, I was like, I just caught something. Like it just happened overnight. It was so weird. I didn't feel sick. And then I went to Quantum One and got on the table, and Dr. Palmer found mold in my lungs and in my thyroid. And so that's
Wow.
why I had to take carboxy. But it was amazing because within, I don't know, 2 to 3 days, good to go. My
Yeah.
voice came back.
She's very healthy, but
But I would have like kept down that road and been like, well, I don't know what's wrong with me. So, so super cool. Carboxy is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and mold can lead to like a lot of other, chronic joint pain and inflammation. So people like, that quote unquote fibromyalgia,
Mm,
mold, I actually, so yeah, hormonal imbalance is another big one that, so if you had care of it, this is why I love quantum nutrition testing, because if you hadn't taken care of it, if she hadn't figured that out, if you hadn't studied quantum nutrition testing yourself and that mold had stayed in your body, what would have it done?
right.
A couple. That's what's so great about this.
I know.
Yeah, we're catching, just because you think it's like, I've had patients that, think that they have a cold because their sinuses are congested, and it's actually toxins. And we
Yeah.
clean up metals and heavy chemicals that are trying to drain out of the sinuses, and their sinuses clear up because
Yeah.
it's not cold. And instead of taking a whole bunch of over the counter stuff, which isn't going to do anything anyway, or antibiotics, we test for it. And that's why I love this. It's so cool. It's just
I know.
so
A lot of times people think it is immune, it's an issue,
Yeah.
but it's something else, and they would never have addressed it. I would say like 80% of the time,
Right.
it's some other weird thing,
Mhm.
a fungus or a bacteria or
Yes.
whatever the cause of it.
Yeah.
So, Tracy, if somebody is like, I have to meet Tracy as a practitioner, where can they find you?
So they can find me on Facebook, the Oasis for Natural Healing. I have a website. I'm on Instagram as well, Oasis_for healing. Or they can love to hear from them. They can call. So 708-554-6730. So, and we're,
we'll put that in the show notes for people in case they want to call you.
Yeah. And then I'm in the Chicagoland area. So if they happen to be in the area, and they're like Indiana, because I'm not too far away from like, Northwest Indiana area. So yeah, either.
But they can see you virtually too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's the one thing that's nice about quantum nutrition testing. So which Robin and Julie are also certified in, and they're fantastic practitioners, and so proud to call them my colleagues.
Oh, it was fun when I saw you that weekend, and you're like, Robin, come here. This person has a knee issue, and I need you to figure out what to use on her. I was like, yeah, I can do that. It was really fun.
It's
Well,
so fun.
It is. And especially since you are certified in, and essential oils. Oh my gosh. If I only knew half the essential oils that this woman knows, oh my gosh, the amount of things, because a lot of the stuff that we use, if you look at the supplements, the essential oils are pretty much the same thing. They're just a little bit more potent. So they have so many healing power, and most of the essential oils are found in the Bible. So she has special powers where she can use her quantum nutrition testing along with the oils. So
yes,
that's pretty darn cool. So
thank you. So just to wrap it up, if you could give advice to somebody who was struggling with an issue, or prioritizing their pets over their own self-care, what would your advice be to them?
Oh, well, so, and I get it that, as a mom, that you want to make sure that your kids or your spouse or whatever is taken care of. But let me reiterate this. Most women, are the glue to the family. You're the one that taking care of the kids. You're the one that's, kind of getting everything organized. And I'm not saying that dads are not, but if you run yourself ragged, and you're not feeling good, I mean, and even if you're not like, and you're suffering from migraines, think of how many things that you're missing because your symptoms are getting in the way. Think of how much of a better mom you're going to be. Think of how much of a better spouse you're going to be. Think of how much of a better colleague or coworker, or how much of a better job you're going to do at work, or even not missing out on social activities because you're not feeling well. So you're going to be able to take care of your family much better if you're feeling better.
Yeah.
So I don't think that there's a price tag that you can put on that, and
Right.
and people complain, well, holistic healthcare costs money. You're going to, if you don't pay for it now, like buying supplements and, paying for office visits, trust me, you're going to pay for it somewhere along the way, whether it's now or later. And by paying for it, I mean in your health and in missing out on activities. And I had one person that came as a consultation, and she goes, well, this is too pricey, because she wasn't working. And I said, and what's going to happen, because she was so sick, she couldn't work. And she goes, well, I'll just wind up on disability. I'm like, and you're okay with that? And like, yeah. I'm like, okay. But, I mean, I guess what's your priority, I guess? And what are you looking to get out of? And making sure that you're putting yourself first, because to me, that's actually selfless, because you are taking care of yourself so you can take a better care of your family. And then too, when we get older, what happens when we get older? So a lot of people wind up in nursing homes. A lot of people wind up being unable to walk, and then they have to rely on their children and their families to take care of them. But if we had taken care of ourselves first, and then we wouldn't wind up in that position. And then we're in that aspect, we're being selfless instead of having to rely on our families to take care of us when we're older.
Right.
So it's just a different way of looking at it, but we got to get the mindset of people to be able to switch their thinking gear and the way
Great
they look.
advice.
Yeah.
Great
So
good.
advice. Well, we love talking to you, Tracy.
Yes, thank you.
So hopefully I'll see you guys soon for, Quantum Leap and some other stuff. So very
Definitely.
soon.
We signed up for Quantum Pets and Quantum Leap.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, good. I'll see you at both then. So yeah, I'm going
Awesome.
well. So very excited about that and Quantum Leap. So it'll be a party. So
Yeah.
I know it'll be
Yay.
so fun.
You'll get a break from the cold and come down in April, and hopefully we'll have some sunshine and some hot
Oh,
weather
yeah.
for you.
I would love that.
That's
So,
awesome.
bathing
for-
suit.
For our listeners, if you like this episode, please like and share it.
Yes.
And you can contact us, and Julie will put the contact information for Tracy
Yes.
in the show notes.
Yep.
So we will see you next time.
Yep.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye,
Tracy. Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. And if you want to support our show, give us a 5-star rating.
To learn more about our practice, visit athelivingtree.com.